Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world for another set of six. It's great to have you on board. And today, as we make our way into the Euros for 2022, we are visiting the teams from Wales, and I'm being joined by Neil Perkins. Let's get Neil in. G'day, Neil. How are you, mate?
Hey,
Great to see you
good,
again.
Adam. Good to catch up with you again. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
It's good to see just almost 12 months ago, we caught up about how things were going with COVID, but now we're out of that somewhat, still a little bit affected, but obviously the Euros coming up, some big plans for Wales and the Euros.
Yeah, exciting times, isn't it? It's good to get it back on the road, good to get it moving forward again. We've got 8 teams going into the Euros this year. A bit disappointed, if I'm honest, that we haven't got a full contingent of the over 30s and the 35s category, but that's an area that we need to develop and pull that through. But it's really exciting times, to get all these sides off the ground.
Real busy time as well. You said you've got the 8 teams going to the Euros, but the Junior Euros only a couple of weeks later on. And what's the Wales contingent for that one?
Yeah, well, we've got a full body of teams going into that with the mixed 15s and the boys, girls 18s and the mixed 18s. So that's good. And I got to put a shout out here to Adam Thomas and his team. They've done an exceptional job to get this off the ground. The professionalism that they put in to get this off the ground is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and that's where we got to go. We got to develop this more. This is where the heart of our game lies, within these junior teams, and we got to develop this more.
We'll touch base a little bit later on about the youth program and where that's headed. But how's everybody preparing for the Euros? How are the teams looking?
It's full on, isn't it? It's full on. It's always full on when you develop in touch. It's great. We're trying to upskill everybody because we've got a lot of new players playing in the game. Getting people back involved again after COVID. Has had its problems. We're quite small in Wales. We're always very small, and are we developing things? But things are going the right way. We are trying to work things, is trying to play in a much more competitive environment, and we got squads playing against squads, and we're quite lucky in Wales. We're small. We're predominantly based around the M4 corridor, so people can commute to each other. We're trying to develop things up in North Wales and West Wales, and we've got things splintered areas coming up. But the real heart of where the game started, was around the M4 corridor, so it's quite easy for us compared to our, the likes of England and Scotland, who were traveling a bigger distance. But it does offer its own challenges, and we haven't got as many people participating. But we've had a few of the sides have actually travelled. Some of the older sides have managed to get over to Jersey, and thanks to the friends in Jersey who've hosted them over there, and over to Switzerland as well. When the over 45s played in Switzerland, and had a couple of warm up games over there. And again, thanks to Mike Abro and the guys over there for setting that up for Steve Higgs and his men's 45s team. So it's good. It's going really well. It's going really well. It's we've got a hard group of volunteers here who work tirelessly, and I'm really grateful for all of them, that all the work that they do. We wouldn't survive without volunteers. Everything's based on volunteers. There's no money in the game in Wales. We make sure that we look after ourselves and try and develop it. That's what we love, the game. So that's what we do, don't we? That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the bottom line, isn't it? The love of the game is what keeps everybody involved. And you talked there about the countries like Jersey and Switzerland reaching out and giving teams some preparation time, and that's what it's all about. Just getting behind the sport and growing it the way you guys are over there.
Oh, without doubt. Being able to travel, look, we're quite lucky, in around the UK that we can hop on a plane. I know it's a little bit more expensive than it was, pre-COVID, but we can get there. It's just making sure that we just reach out and try and work together to help each other. I know the guys that went over to Switzerland, Jersey, had a ball. They had an absolute ball. Yeah. So, it's great. That's what it's about, isn't it? That's what it's about. We can share some ideas and develop it. It's good. But I'd like to see that at junior level. I'd like to see that at all the levels. It just takes somebody to drive a team, because, it's all volunteer-led, and unless you've got a volunteer base, you can't get these things off the ground. So you can't. It's hard. It's really hard.
Absolutely. So what are the expectations?
Look, we set their expectations really high, perhaps too high, if I'm honest. We want to win everything. Of course we do. We're Welsh. We've got to win everything. But we've got to be realistic what we're trying to do. Like, we're self-funded in the UK of how how we getting players to these events, and it's got to be fun, isn't it? If we haven't got fun, then we haven't got anything. So, I'd love to see the guys winning all the categories. Like, realistically, I set my own targets. Maybe I won't share them with you, or maybe I will. Look, I'd love to see all of our sides hitting the finals. I really would. Get into the finals. But look, a semi-final place. I know the teams would be disappointed if they didn't hit the semi-final place. I know they would. I know all of them would. I know they'd be disappointed if they don't hit the final slot. But that's the high expectations we've got. We've got a lot of experience in Wales, and and that's what we'd like to do. But we can't forget it's about fun, isn't it? We've got to have some fun.
It's got to be based in something, and fun is the best place to start. 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
So here we are talking to Neil Perkins from Wales. If you're out there watching in Facebook or YouTube, don't forget you can ask some questions or put a comment in there. We'll follow those up on the journey. But how will participating in the Euros help expansion of touch? You talked about the narrow corridor that you operate from at the moment. What does competing internationally bring to the game domestically?
Well, looking at how the guys who've set the events up over the years, and the streaming that's been taking place, they're like the YouTube streaming is absolutely phenomenal. How that's reaching out to develop our sport as a medium where people can see the guys play in, it's absolutely brilliant. There's never enough marketing, there's never enough publicity, but I don't think we'll ever hit the point where we have enough publicity. But let's keep that moving, and let's keep that going the right way, I suppose. When you look at, I was fortunate enough to play in 1998 in the Euros up in Nottingham then.
Wow.
God, how many years ago? That old. There was a lot of grey hair since then, Adam, I tell you. Playing up, and then we had three teams, England, Scotland, Wales, and playing at a small venue. And then you look at it now, you're going to Nottingham now, 12 Euros later, and it's a massive, massive event. It's massive.
It's outstanding.
It is outstanding, but it does bring problems as well. That's the problem. It's massive, and I love that. I love the fact that it is grown so much, but it does cause problems for those smaller nations who want to host this. The likes of, I guess, the Switzerlands, they use a smaller nation. I'd love to see the game like it used to, where we could pop around to different countries. And it's really difficult at the moment to allow that to happen because it is so big without an infrastructure that we haven't got that infrastructure in Wales. We've hosted 2-3 Euros, and we haven't got our infrastructure in Wales at the moment to deliver it at the level that is required. And that does worry me slightly, is how we develop that. And maybe we do, sadly, need to look at an open category and an overs category.
Yes.
Make it slightly smaller to allow that to happen. Maybe we can have some discussions amongst Europe and fit to see how we do that so it becomes more inclusive. So it helps us develop it, because I certainly don't want to be hindering the development because of the growth and the size of the competitions that are taking place.
Yeah, that's
It is massive.
That's a great point you make there, and it's something that's been experienced, all around the world. I know here in Australia. The Junior State Cup here in New South Wales, one of the biggest youth tournaments, had to be split for that very reason. There were so many limitations on who could host it because of the size of the event, and the drain on the resources where referees, coaches, and all of those things that need to be put in. The tournament had to break in two, and they've gone geographically and north and south of the state. And then they come together to play a final series. I know that's something different to what would happen from a European Championships, but you've got to have those considerations in place.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. It's looking how we do that, the best fit for everybody, because it's getting the experience of. I look at the team I'm involved in now, the over 50s men. Like, we've got loads of new cap players into that team, and that's really, really positive. But then I look at the other end of the spectrum, where we've got the men's open. We also got new cap players in that category. It'd be awful to not allow them to experience a big tournament. But we can't be to the detriment of developing the game in a bigger way. We have to look at that. We have to make some tough decisions, I think, in what we can do to, the short-term pain, unfortunately, for long-term gain, isn't it? We need to do that, and getting a clear understanding of why we're doing that, a rationale why we're doing that, and what's the purpose of it. And I think if people understood that, they go with it, and it'd be a better way to take it forward. I think something to discuss anyway, isn't it? It's just, I love the fact that England are stepping up to host us again, and I'm grateful for them, because without them we wouldn't get this off the ground in the UK. So thank you, England, for taking the bull by the horns and running with it. So we are grateful.
Fantastic. But again, it is those smaller nations sending teams to it that make it the success that it is. It's one thing to have a host of a large tournament, but then those other nations have got to come and put their best foot forward and hopefully, as you said, take it back and develop the sport back in their own countries.
Yeah,
so
important.
I love listening to you talk. I can hear the passion in your voice about the game, and you've talked about back there in '98 in Nottingham. But how excited are you personally for these Euros? What are you looking to bring out of it?
I just love it. I just absolutely love it. Playing in 1998, playing as a rugby player, when my body fell apart, when I couldn't make any more tackles and my shoulder fell off and I screwed it back together, this was a sport that kept me going. It keeps us going. It's great. I love it. I love what it brings. I love the fact that we see in building those friendships, the camaraderie, the fact that I've got that rivalry that we've got between the boys that I've been playing against for many, many years. I'm just looking forward to catching up with them and battling it out on the field, and then having a beer after and, socializing with it and celebrating the successes. But that's the overs, that's the 50s, that's where we are. We're probably a bit more social than the opens. The open guys that, having played in that category, I remember playing in Sydney in the World Cup and getting an absolute battering off New Zealand. I think we lost. Well, I won't comment on we lost. You can look that up in your stats, but it was a lot. There was a 2 in front of the first digit, so I'll say no more. We'll call
it a growth point.
Yeah, but you've got to do that. You've got to learn, haven't you? You learn by playing and by taking part and by getting involved and doing all those things. And for me, I love the sport. I love the development of it, and we can't lose sight of what that's about and what that does. And let's keep that going and keep that enthusiasm going. Really,
it really is one of the best things about our sport. It's the battle and the banter. What happens on the field stops at the sideline. You come off it, you have a beer, you have a yarn. Very rarely is there any angst taken off the paddock, and that's one of the beauties of this sport. The conversation we had there about the tournament's drawn a comment from somebody that we both know quite well, Greg Cropper.
Yeah,
Crops has had a little bit to say there, and obviously somebody that knows exactly what he's talking about, the double-edged sword splitting the events, and that's exactly something that have to be considered in those sorts of discussions. And he makes the point that looking at the data, the countries who hosted Euros in the past, apart from England, obviously, have added less teams the following year and lost numerous volunteers to burnout. So some serious considerations in all of those decisions.
Oh, absolutely. I stepped away from the game for a while for burnout. We've been there. It's hard. You put a lot into it. Going back to 2013, 2014, when Wales hosted the Euros, you just have enough. You just can't do anymore. I look at this time at the moment where we're going through the admin requirements and things, and we're really small as a governing body, we're tiny. Like, I'm a managing director of Wales Touch at the moment with a hard-working team around us. There's only 5 of us. It's 5 of us, tiny. So what we're trying to do is do sort the administrations out, and it always brings problems, and you always get burnout. But it's like, as I always say to all the guys who are involved with us, they said, don't take too much on that's going to cause the burnout. To try and do it, stick with it, because it's, I'm in there for the long haul. But realize that you are pushing the point that you are going to burn out from it. Step away for a bit, but because you'll come back, you will come back. I proved that. I've stepped away, I had to, and then I've come back. So, but Greg's point is completely right. We do get issues, we do get problems with it, and it does cause. It does potentially cause issues. So we have to take that into consideration. It's a massive thing. Volunteers, isn't it? If we haven't got volunteers, we don't develop the game. It's just really, really hard.
That's the problem the world around, I have to say. But again, with people like yourself, I just love listening to the passion that you talk about the game with. It's sensational, mate. Tell me, what are we looking at here? This is a very interesting photo to me.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's an air dome. That's an air dome that we've got. We're actually going to get one in my school, hopefully. Not of this size, unfortunately. We've got a tennis dome coming. It's one that came from Wimbledon. Hopefully, we should be having that. But this is what this is. Now, I'm not sure what the venue is. Now, I think that could be University of South Wales potentially. I don't know what the venue is, but there's a venue that the Cardiff City use, and it might be that actually. It's the Cardiff City. You've got a training football club. I've got a training venue down in Cardiff, obviously, and we utilise that. You know, surprising how cold they are inside. Actually, in a dome, it's
really?
freezing in there. Yeah. Quite cold when it's hot, but you know, not the best when it's cold. It's great. It's great. It's a great venue. But venue's a problem for us because it rains a lot in Wales. We need some cover, so it is a problem. You know, it's. And the guys, and these cost money, don't they? You know, this is looking at the picture there. This costs money, so I think that's a 45 training on there. I think,
very good.
Yeah, it's good.
Great facilities. We've had another shout out, a couple of shout outs as well. Good morning from Landoff. If I've said that right, you'll have to correct me there, Neil.
Yeah.
Landoff Fields from Steve.
Steve RH, he's one of our, he's stalwart of the game, got over 100 caps, Steve. He's played for Wales. I know his knees have fallen apart. He was coaching the women's 27s. He's leading up the women's 27s, the women's 35. So thank you, Stevie RH, and all your team for doing that. That's coming from Rian now. It is the Air Dome at Leckwith. So, as I thought. Thanks, Rian, for that. It is, and it is the 40s that are training there. Rian's the team manager of the Wales 40s, and been inspirational. It's lovely to have some ladies involved because they just sort us all out. They just sort it all out for us. You know, they're brilliant. Getting the girls involved, it just sorts the boys out, stops the alpha male problem, and it's great. So thank you, Rian. Thank you.
The real level, great stuff. And thanks for dropping into the chat there and just filling us in on what that venue was. From my personal perspective, never seen anything like it. We have nothing like that here in Australia. So
you always got the sun, haven't you? You always got the sun. You got the floodlight issue over there, haven't you? That's what you've got.
No, well, I'll tell you what we've got now, Neil. We have had the the winter from hell, the rain and floods like nothing else. It's just been unbelievable. Probably, I know one area in particular here in Sydney has been completely flooded, inundated three times in 2 months. We're talking the first flood was a 1 in 100 year event apparently, and we've had 3 since then.
Wow.
So it's been incredible. Sport over here has been very badly affected coming out of COVID, but then the floods here in New South Wales and Queensland have been unbelievable. So
best to everybody over there who suffered from that. So I'm really sorry to hear that. So I know how torrential it can be over there. I haven't experienced the World Cup in Coffs Harbour, so I know what it was like.
Coffs was one of the areas really badly affected. And I know Penrith, who have a touch football venue with over 20 fields, were 4.5 foot underwater.
Oh wow!
For a number of weeks. So an unbelievable.
Best to everybody who suffered from that. So I'm really sorry, and I wish them all the best.
So you can send an air dome our way, mate. We'd love to have an indoor area to play a dry game of touch at the moment.
Oh, they're great. Honestly, they really are. There's exceptional spaces, but they're obviously not cheap. So we'll have to tap into Fitz massive amounts of money to see if they'll pay for us.
You talk about the volunteer base. Absolutely. Exactly, I might have to look at it from an entrepreneurial perspective.
Yeah.
So we've talked about there. We introduced the junior Euros. So I just want to talk a little bit more now about the development of youth touch. So obviously, for a number of reasons, the Youth World Cup has been cancelled. And I know there's been plenty of discussions around about that. And obviously, COVID has had an effect on that. And the quarantine requirements of some of the competing nations who would have been coming across is also an effect. But you touched on the cost of travel that you were finding to get people to go to some of the venues. Obviously, that's had a massive impact as well. And unfortunately, decisions have to be made in line with participation and making it, achievable. The Junior Euros are coming up in a couple of weeks. What are the expectations for the European, for Wales in the Junior Euros? And then let's talk a little bit more about the development of touch in Europe in the youth program.
Look, this is where we've got to put more funding into. This is what we've got to do, and we've got to raise our game really with the youth and the juniors. It's just important, and we're trying to do things in Wales, but we're not there yet. But what's going on with us in Wales at the moment? I'm looking at the categories that are open in Europe, and we've got a mixed 15s, and then boys 18s, girls 18s. mixed 18s. No, I just think we got it the wrong way round. You know, we need the 15s category. You know, it's the performance pyramid, isn't it? Classic performance pyramid. You know, you get the base at the bottom and you get the elite at the top. So, you know, we need to increase the numbers that are taking part in this sport at the junior level. And, you know, things are going on for us in schools. Things are happening, you know, with development structures, but it's not enough. And, you know, and it's not big enough to where we want to achieve. But we are getting there. We're working towards, you know, making it as big as we possibly can. We do have an issue. Like, it's disappointing the World Cup's cancelled, but I understand why. You know, it's all money. Everything is money related. You know, we've got parents that are paying. It's a self-funding sport, and you know, it's hard to get around to these places. You know, the talk about splitting the Euros now with a Pacific and an Asia Europe type of event. You know, I think it's a really good idea. It's a lovely idea because, you know, it will reduce the cost. It still will be big. I think both of them will be big. Concerns, I guess, is, you know, the playing skill divide will still be evident from the northern and southern hemispheres at the moment, because you guys down there are a lot more advanced than we are. But then, you know, we're looking at the long game here. If we look in maybe 20 years' time, I said, you know, could we be in a position to bring that back? But we got to put something in for these kids, and we got to put something in for these juniors, and that looking at an age-based thing, you know, is a good consideration, because the Europe event is getting big. The Junior Euros is getting big. You know, that's you know, I look at that now. That's bigger than, I look back to 2002 when I ran with a team of guys when we ran the Euros in Cardiff in 2002. You know, the Junior Euros is bigger than that. You know, so you look how big this is getting now. And it's hard. And Greg Kropp's point, you know, you're going to get burnout. You are going to get burnout from people, because it's the same people running things.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right answer is for it, if I'm honest with you, Adam. But you know what? I just think we got to keep chipping away at it. You know, I don't think it is a correct answer, but the fact that we can keep chipping away at it and trying to target what we're trying to achieve, that'll be great. That'll be great for the game. The more youngsters we get playing this game, we love it, don't we? All of us love it. And they love it when they start playing and watching these juniors training now. And they absolutely love it, you know, and raising the stakes, but allowing us within Wales, we get caps for kids, and, you know, we raise the profile of it. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Awesome. It's a big thing to do, you know, and it's lovely. And that's what we want to do. But I do think we have slightly got it wrong in the European community, that we haven't put the bigger drive into the 15s category. And I understand why. I understand from a safeguarding perspective. I understand all the needs from us from there. But we can't let the safeguarding issues of taking your pupils and young people away get in the way of developing the sport. Like, I'm a PE teacher, I'm assistant headmaster of a comprehensive school, and I've taken kids all over the world. You don't let safeguarding issues get in the way of things. You know, we've taken the biggest cities in the world, and you've just got to do it. You've got to put something in place, put the structure in place, and maybe go small and develop. You know, start it off nice and small and develop it. So we can do it. It's just getting an agreed structure. The problem we've got is trying to agree a structure, because everybody's got different ideals. Everybody's got different ideas of what the right thing is. We just got to go with one, make a decision, and stick with it. Probably a longer term. So we got that development. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to put it all together. It's really hard.
Yeah, if it was easy, there'd be a lot of people doing it, wouldn't there? But and I think that you talk about the small volunteer base, and even the numbers that get involved at national levels and so forth. The numbers of participants far outweigh those that are really driving the programs. Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem, is that everybody has a lot of ideas, but sometimes it's hard to park your personal opinions and do something for the benefit of the sport, or to look outside your country or your nation and think of what's better for the sport in general or as a whole. But just listening again, I go back to listening to you talk, mate. I think, you know, Touch over there is in really good hands when people like yourself are at the forefront, putting forward those ideas and just generating conversation.
Adam, Touch is bigger than one person. Touch is bigger than one person in Wales. It's not me. I just happen to be the person who's talking to you today. I got a group of people that got the same passion as me.
You've said that
a group of coaches
times.
who got the same passion as me. So, you know, I just happen to be the one on the line to you. You know, it's, you know, Paul Jennison now, he's popped up. Like Paul, I thank Paul over the years for what he's done for us. You know, Geno brought the refereeing structure for us. remember sitting with Jenna in a bar in Cardiff over the years. He was a black badge referee. He's an awesome guy, you know, and he gave everything to us in Europe to get the refereeing structure up and running. And now, thankfully, we've got referees in Wales now. You know, Kevin Hobbs, who's a black badge refereed the World Cup final, you know, in Coffs Harbour.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal ref. So, you know, it's coming through. But that's on the back of people like Paul. You know, people like Paul, like you said, then stepping up to help us to do what we can to develop the game. Like he was in the UK and he wanted to do something to help, and he did it. So it is about that. It is about getting to a point that you can do something to help others, I guess. Because, you know, I look at, you know, I mentioned to you off air a while ago. I said, you know, when I started playing touch in Wales, I decided then every time I was going to hit a category, hit an age grade, that I was going to try and set that age grade up. So we got the 30s, 35s, 40s, 45s, 50s, and you know, and there'll be a 55s and 60s as well, I'm sure. So you know, it won't be long, and we'll be hitting those. So you know, but it's important that what's fallen down is then the team behind them. We haven't got somebody to run those teams, and that's where we've got the 30s and the 35s now. We just need one person to step up to do it, and you will do it because you know. You start it and people will come. It's
that old analogy, isn't it? If you build it, they will come.
They will. And they will because you know you'll have the drive and the support of everybody to help you to get it off the ground. So you know we can do it. It's just working together and not having any of these internal rivalries that can develop. You know, we've got a lot of people who have got different ideals, and you'll have different discussions about things, and you know, and nobody, you know, not everybody will agree on what you're trying to achieve, but you've got to be rational about what you're trying to do. So if you can get a rational approach to developing it, then let's go for it. Let's do what we can to develop it. So
awesome. So there we've got another comment there from Sarah Boswell, travelled over from Brisbane, Australia to watch her daughter, Imogen Boone, playing for the Wales Women's Opens. Very excited.
Great? Oh, I love it. It's brilliant, awesome. Isn't it? Thank you for coming over, Sarah. You know, and thanks for playing. It's just, that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. You know, it's got to be about that. It's got to be about developing the sport and playing it. It's just lovely to see. It's just, you know, it's a small world when you start traveling around and meeting people, and you know, it is a tiny old world. So let's keep it going. Let's keep developing it.
I love this comment too from Paul as we were talking through, you know, talking about the people putting in, and Paul makes that comment there. And as you talked about Paul's experience or your experience with Paul and how much he contributed to about paying it forward, putting the sport before individuals. And that really encapsulates what the message should be.
That's Paul through and through, isn't it? That's the type of guy he is. You know, he's an absolute. I haven't seen him for years. You know, it's lovely to see him on years. Gosh, many years since I've seen Paul and spoken to him. But I really, I'll never forget what he's done for us in Europe. You know, we'll never forget that, and we'll share a beer at some stage, I'm sure, Paul. So if you're listening now, you know, thanks, my friend. So you know, it's good.
And Greg came in again when we were talking about the expansion of tournaments and potential burnout. You know, maybe the best option is to outsource the running of the bigger events outside the host nation, so you're not bleeding dry. And that's certainly considerations. And I know there are event management groups out there that can certainly join in the hosting of events. And Greg, obviously, at the forefront of that. So,
well, it's something you've got to consider. I mean, you definitely got to consider. You've got to consider how you do that, and it's ensuring we get people who've got that skill, got those skill sets. You know, Greg being one, who've got those skill sets to maintain that in the game. So you know, we have to look at it. We definitely have to look at how we're going to make this a good package for us for development of the sport. We'll get there. But
absolutely,
you know, we will.
We're still a very young sport, but the development that you know, in the general scheme of things, we are a young sport, but the development that's taking place in countries like England and those other European, your own nation, they're sending the number of teams that you are, and the disappointment not having one or two age groups, you know, the drive to fill them.
Well, it is like we could have filled all the under 15 categories. We could have done it, boys, girls, mix. We could have filled them all, and that's the thing. It's disappointing that we. So what Adam has done with his team of coaches there, and I think it's brilliant, to be honest, is that nobody's been turned away. It's the people who have been made the squad are still part of that squad. They're still, even though they're not playing in the junior Euros now in that category, they're still part of the wider squad. And the squad is to develop, you know, and that's what I know that he'll be slightly disappointed that there's no Junior World Cup, because the focus for him was the Junior World Cup. But there will be an event, but it won't be, you know, the Junior World Cup. It'll, you know, the Asia, Europe, whatever that structure is. But it's about having that end game, isn't it? What we're going to do for that end game. It's just how we're going to get to that. It's building. We have to build.
As you said, I know the people that have been charged with driving the game from the fit level. It's a tough decision to cancel this Youth World Cup, but I know the drive is there to have something now, but then in the future, hopefully revisit that World Cup program to give, as you said, that progression, the end goal.
We have to do it, don't we? We have to, because you want those, because we'll be, I guess it'll be you putting the YouTube clips out of the Euros now, and the juniors will be seeing that, and we want to see that logical progression, a logical development pathway that's in place to go from the 15s to the 18s to the 20s. Like we haven't got a 20 structure within Wales at the moment, because our 20s are basically filling the open categories. Because these guys are far too quick to be running around, for me, 20s. It's great. So that's where we go, and my argument would be in do we need a 20 structure because of that? Because that's now within the open category. For nations like yourself in Australia, I guess you would, because you've got enough players to deal with that. But we haven't really got enough player base at that level to really put that in place at the moment.
It's a very much a balancing act around those age categories.
Yeah. It's just we do what we can. It's all volunteers, and we do what we can to make sure that we can put what we can in place. And like I said, within Wales, I'm just so grateful for all the team that we got, the volunteer base we got. They're all good. They're all fantastic people, all professionals. If you want to get a job done, you give it to a busy guy, don't you? Or guy or lady. That's
exactly right.
And that's what happens. So all these people are really busy, running their own businesses, doing their own things, and they're doing this on top. And that's. I'm grateful to all of them, really. A shout out for all the coaches and all the volunteers within Wales, and thank you, and around the world. To be honest, without you all, we'd be nothing. We would.
And I think that's the one thing we touch on when we have these sets of six, and I put it to touch participants worldwide. If you're in a country for any reason, if you're over there for work, or if you're there for a holiday, or you're just traveling around, reach out to the local touch associations. Just offer some assistance. Sometimes just having fresh eyes, a new voice can really do wonders for the game in those countries.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. I wish I could travel more, and I do a lot more. But I'd like being a teacher. I got the summer months to travel, I guess. But I'd love to travel more and to do some. But there's people out there that do it. Look at the guys now who are coming up from Singapore, from Matthew and the boys coming up from Singapore. They're looking to get involved again and to develop things, because did really well in the World Cup in Malaysia. So it's good to see that happening too. It's good to see that. So it's good. You're right, Adam. Get out there, spread the word, just help people. I can remember France coming over to us in 2002. And they were suffering. They hadn't played much touch, and they were losing heavily. And we just showed them everything we had, gave them everything we could, and then the next Euros they were a real force. I can remember Pete Walters coming over to us in 2002 as well, and Pete showed us all the moves that New Zealand were going to run against us, every move. And he said, I'll show you how to defend it, I'll show you how to run it, and I'll do everything. And here's all the paperwork, here's all the information, here's all the plays, here they are. And I said, I'll show you how to defend them, and then we'll run against you on Saturday. Obviously, we couldn't get near him because he's absolutely phenomenal. So, he ran past us, even though when we knew how to defend him, we still couldn't do it. But thanks, Pete, for everything you do, mate. I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I better give a shout out to this young fellow that's giving you 2 thumbs up. That's my young bloke, mate. I'll do that. He's sitting in another room having a listen, and when he knew I was talking to somebody in Wales, he said, I've got to watch this one, Dad. So
good. He's good. Send him my best. Okay.
So, mate, what we're towards the end of the conversation, but what I'd like to finish off with is the 1 minute elevator pitch. You've got, you're in an elevator, you're stuck, you've got a minute to sell the sport to somebody that has absolutely no idea about it. What is it about the game that you think brings people in?
Hey, mate, it's a few punchlines here. It's fun, it's fast, keeps you fit, easy to play. It's the game for everyone. You've got to get involved. The game for everyone. 660, 550, right span, big, small,
Yeah.
It's the game for everyone, and it is, so is the game for everyone. It's fun. You're playing with your mates, you play with your dad, you play with your mum, you play alongside your family. It's brilliant. We had a fathers and son team that used to play in a tournament that I ran in Pontyclean. It's brilliant. It's fast, it's really fast, but it doesn't have to be fast. It can be a steady game as well with a structure. You can play with a structure, you can play it off the cuff. The similarities between the sevens game, if you want it to be, even though I keep shouting at my men's 50s that you can't play sevens, but there's a structure there. Keeps you fit, keeps you running. Look, it's kept me involved in the game, since my body fell apart as a rugby union player many, many years ago. And I just absolutely love it. And you'll love it as well. So give it a go. It's fun, it's fast, easy to play, and it's definitely the game for everyone. Have a go.
I'm sold, mate. I'm going straight out now to try and have a game myself in the pouring down rain and the mud, but we'll get there.
I'll bring the ball for you, mate. We'll have a run together. Come on.
Awesome. I love it. No, that's been fantastic catching up with you again, Neil, and good luck with the Euros for the Wales contingent and the Junior Euros as well, obviously, just a couple of weeks later. Busy period. I appreciate everything you put in with your crew of volunteers and all of your coaches, but it's been great to catch up with you again, mate.
Hey, Adam, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much. Thanks to everybody that you do. Thanks all fit for everything you run, guys. And, let's touch is the winner. Let's keep it going.
Fantastic. And a shout out to John. Thanks for the great interview there. And we love bringing it to you. And with people like Neil, it's always going to be a fantastic chat. So once again, thanks for joining us for another set of 6. I know I think it's in a couple of days we have another one coming your way. But on behalf of Neil, I'm going to say goodbye and wish everybody all the best. And for every other country that's going to the Euros, how about you buy this man a beer? He's doing a great job for the game. All right, guys, thanks very much for joining us. We'll catch up in a couple of days with another set of 6. And from me, it's bye for now.